He is the best broker in the country, America. 3 minutes earn more than $12,000. At the age of 31, owning hundreds of millions of dollars. Our main male is Jock Don Belfort. In 1997, the male lead was imprisoned for deceiving. In Jock Don Belfort's His Magic Experiences, write a self-story. This book has been filmed into a classic movie about financial, Wolf of Wall Street. The movie starts, the male lead, Jock Don Belfort, is only 26 years old, has become an extremely rich boss. He is in a lavish mansion, go to the latest supercar, private aircraft, and luxurious yachts. Things that people have, Jock Don Belfort have all. Also get a famous model wife. And I am 26 years old, still riding a bicycle shared. And people think that the male is a rich child. But 4 years ago, Jock Don was still a very poor man. At the age of 22, the male lead first arrived at the street world, an internship at a securities company. Here, Jock Don met the first person to change his fate. He was the one who, under the company, was the best stock in the company. A year can earn hundreds of millions of dollars, America. Jock Don Belfort's time asked him what the secret of success was. He said it was not lost. He does not care what kind of stocks buy customers, regardless of whether he made money or not. You just need to let him constantly buy in the percentage. After listening to this sentence, Belfort was removed. The male lead quickly practiced for a very clever meter. 6 months later, Belfort transferred as an official employee, really becoming a person under stock. But at the right time, the male lead was about to earn a large amount. Suddenly, an unprecedented stock event in history occurred. This day was recorded as Monday night. A financial tsunami as a world stock market. Broken battle, countless people advised to defeat. So no one dares to buy stocks anymore. Belfort's company must close the male lead. The boy is about to go to the store as a salesperson. But the wife said the male lead should not make that day. The wife who saw in the newspaper still had a company recruiting. The lower lip immediately let the male lead Belfort interview. According to the address on the newspaper did not specify what floor, but only a shabby shop. Inside is a group of men sitting around, call in a narrow space. More thrilling is that this place is selling ghost stocks. This type of stock is extremely cheap, but there is no way to price. Only a few idiots all day and dreamed about changing their lives. Just believe this type of stock can make money. Moreover, selling this type of stock is illegal. The Belfort was about to leave when the boss said a sentence that made the male lead. He said, "Here, 50%. What does 50% mean? It is a company that criticizes 1%. The percentage increased by 50 times. The male lead is heartbroken. He decided to join this company. The first day of Dan Belfort's slope became the star of the company. Listening to the male lead calling everyone in the company to stop. Too convincing. No one can support the seller like that. As expected, after the first call, the male lead earned $2,000. A few months later, Belfort bought the first supercar. The male lead was dressed in a cafe. At this time, the second person made him change his destiny. His name is Danny, is the neighbor of the male lead. He asked Dan Belfort Slope to buy that supercar. Belfort said he was a stock buyer. He asked the male salary again. Belfort said last month earned $70,000. Danny did not believe he hit the extreme. Male lead. If Belfort really could find that, he immediately quit his job. After listening to this sentence, Belfort took out his payroll. Indeed, last month, Belfort earned $72,000. Nothing, everything is fine. Listen to me. This, from today, I officially quit my job. Danny is extremely assertive. Then, the two of them combined, hired an old work and set up a company, preparing to sell shares. Initially, the company's employees were close friends of Belfort. Even in it, there are even Matu. They look not reputable, but all are excellent trading experts. Write your name on the napkin for me, but I don't have a pen. Exactly, there is a new supply. Very quickly, their business is increasingly prosperous. Belfort is increasingly not satisfied with making money from the poor. The male lead wants to make more money, make money from the rich, designed a completely new logo. So he moved the company to the countryside, write a few words and intense. The first employees were promoted to the deputy general director. The small factory of the male lead suddenly turned into a famous factory in the countryside. Along with the growing company, Belfort also has greater goals. He started taking advantage of the gap in the securities industry to make money. Before lowering the price of stocks purchased, then raising the stock to the crop. Wait for stock to increase the price, then buy the stock I have. Buying and selling like that, they earned a lot of money. Belfort very quickly became a sought-after character in the countryside. Forbes magazine also came to interview the male lead, calling him the old erosion of the countryside. But at this time, the male lead still did not know he had been targeted by a group of people. That is the FBI. The countryside in the US has a securities company. A promotion earned $2.8 million. Forbes magazine came to the interview. The owner of Belfort's company calls him the old erosion of the countryside. This spring-ish. The company attracts a lot of young people. They worship the male lead as worshiping God. The third person changes the fate of Belfort now has appeared. Naomi is a model at a party. The moment she walked into Belfort's room, all men in the room are worse. Because she was so beautiful, the Belfort had just looked passionately. Although she had a boyfriend and the male lead, but the two still stealthily call each other. The wife discovered that Belfort had an affair. When the two divorced, Belfort immediately proposed to Naomi. After getting married, she also gave her a yacht. Take Naomi's name to give Thwees next time. Very quickly the Council of Court began to notice the male companies, because Belfort's company has abnormal high income. Even more worrying is the investigation staff of the FBI has targeted the male lead. At this time, Belfort's career is preparing to have an important move. He wanted to openly punish stocks from a company, but inside silently made a plan that could not tell others. It turned out that the company was publicly punished with stocks. 85% is in the hands of the male lead and friend Danny. Company employees frantically promote stock targets. Belfort and Danny, within 3 hours of each, had earned $22 million. The more and more illegal behavior has been completely touched to the FBI. The more difficult than the conspiracy to buy a bit of Belfort investigator failed. Also almost caused myself to be pulled down. But this FBI investigator is not easy to buy. Extremely consistent to handle the company's fraud. Belfort is required to rely on the help of the Swiss bank. Thanks to Naomi's name in all the money. So the FBI will never look up that money. But the FBI looks even more carefully. They started listening to the phone Belfort. At this time, the male lawyer advised him, please withdraw while on the top. As long as he signed a pen to the Council of Agreement for a small fine, Lynn can hold money for the rest of his life. Until then, the FBI wanted to catch him and there was no way. Looking at the wife and daughter, Belfort knows this is a good opportunity to withdraw. The male lead agrees. But in the last speech of Belfort before the company, the guy immediately face, I will never leave. This is my home. For the Belfort slope, making money is not only the purpose. The money of the guy spent all 3 generations did not go away. The male lead stays because of making money, has become a part of his life. Only when the banknotes are recorded in the book, the Belfort can feel his value. But along with that is the investigation of the Council of Prince, and calls of the FBI. But the staff that Belfort offers, anyone can say the name. The Council of the Investigation Council for another month could not investigate. To avoid these annoying things, Belfort and Danny take his wife to Vietnam to rest. But now they received a bad news. Naomi has died of heart disease. Belfort must immediately go to Swiss Goods to preserve himself. The $20 million fraud depends on that bank to be able to arrive. But Naomi resolutely wanted to attend what ceremony first. The captain also stood. Today, the sea has very big waves. But the male loves money. The guy, despite all the captains starting the engine. But Belfort underestimated this turbulent wave. Very quickly, the boat was overturned. Fortunately, the rescue team has arrived. But Belfort in 24 hours must definitely get to the bank. Otherwise, all the male leads will be missed. The guy called the private plane to pick him up. But the unusual happened. Outside the private aircraft window to pick up Belfort, suddenly stabbing a sea of hi-ow. The Belfort is said that this is God's newspaper. It is time to change another job. The male lead opens a layer of sales skills. But when he was taking advertising for that training course, the FBI, so the person in charge of the Belfort deposit in the bank, Switzerland, was arrested. What makes people have nothing to say, his arrest has nothing to do with the male lead. He was arrested for money laundering for the gangsters. But to be slightly reduced, he declared Belfort cheating on money a lot. The entire fraud of Belfort was seized. The court for the bail for $1 million. The male lead still faces a 20-year prison sentence. At this time, the FBI made an attractive petition. As long as Belfort offers all his accomplices suspected of crime, he will be reduced for more than 10 years in prison. Must sell friends? Belfort is very awkward. The more awkward thing is in the back. The wife, Naomi, finally could not stand the male lead. I definitely want to divorce, even want to take your daughter. While close friends are in need of the most encouragement, the most close person wants to leave him. Faced with the hardship of his wife, Belfort he made an angry appointment. He gave his wife a battle and hugged his daughter to leave. But the male lead could not drive out of the yard and crashed into the wall. Girls are so injured. Hearing the crying of girls' cries, Belfort has just awakened. The male lead knew he could not continue more mistakes. The next day, Belfort signed in the agreement. He needed to collect evidence to reduce the penalty for himself, and also bring the eavesdropping device to the company. But in the company there is still his good friend Danny. Belfort does not want Danny to be arrested. When he had a meal, he secretly gave him a piece of paper. What is that on the person? I have a stolen machine, not to talk. But unexpectedly the next day, the FBI brought the piece of paper to Belfort. Being sold by my best friend, Belfort, painful growing. The male lead finally has nothing to lose. Belfort finally pleaded guilty. Then the FBI rushed into the company to catch all accomplices. In return, the male lead Belfort only has to sit in prison 3 years. 3 years later, the slope of Dan Belfort was officially released from prison. He did not do illegal business anymore. And he was at the sales training class teaching young people for sales techniques. Hooking a pen to ask the first customer to sell it to themselves. But each person only knows how to say its advantages in a foolish way. But behind them, in the eyes of young people, Chan is full of money. The greedy disease and desire hidden deep in the inner heart of each person, always chasing behind, may not be able to return forever. Maybe only nothingness. The story ends here. What do you think about this movie? Leave your opinion below so I know. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and watch my other videos. Bye!